Imagine that for once you've actually gone outside and you've had the opportunity to meet new people. I know, just imagine. And imagine you're talking to someone and you're starting to get to know them. You're having what you think is a pretty good conversation. You've been applying all the tips you've been watching in YouTube videos, and the conversation seems to be going well. At least it seems to be flowing. But after a couple minutes, you start to see that the other person is looking around to find other people to talk to. They're not smiling anymore, and they're giving much shorter responses. Unfortunately, you have thrown. As you leave to go run back to your room and cry, you think, maybe I'm just boring. If this has ever happened to you, which it has happened to me relatively recently, you are not boring. It is fine. It's not to do with you as a person. It is to do with what you have chosen to do with the conversation. Let me explain. There is levels to good conversation. There's level -1, which is the lowest, which is you can't even keep the conversation going. Level 0 is where you can keep the conversation going, but it's very boring. So the other person may not want to actually be friends with you. Then the next level up, level 1, is where you can start to have a more interesting conversation. At level 1, you're sharing interesting things about yourself and you're asking more interesting questions. So you've gone beyond the small talk phase and you're actually learning interesting things about the other person. Or if it's someone you've known a while, you're just having an interesting conversation, Unfortunately, this isn't always enough to get to become really close friends with someone. You have to get to level 2. At level 2, you're having these interesting, you're sharing interesting things and you're asking interesting questions. But on top of that, you're joking around. And this is the essential part of conversation that I think a lot of people miss. Adding humor to a conversation allows you to connect with people on a much deeper level. And the sooner you add the humor in, the better. So if you've just met someone, it is not too early to start making fun of them. As long as you do it kind of safely, you don't go for the crazy humor, it's a good idea. So if you're worried that you're boring, maybe you're just not putting effort into being funny. And if you think that you're just not a funny person, I think you're wrong, because have you ever had a time where you've been funny like a little bit? Yeah, right? We all have, because everyone is fun. Some people are a bit more practiced than others. And most importantly, some people put more effort into being funny. What I've noticed is the people that laugh at your jokes are also always the people who are the funniest. And that's because they're just looking at the funny side of life. So that's what you need to try and do. And I'll talk more about that later. But first, I want to talk about 2 other things that will help you have these higher level conversations. The first one is confidence. If you're not confident, you're not going to be able to make good jokes. You're not even going to be able to ask interesting questions because you're going to be stuck in survival mode. You're going to be thinking, how can I keep this conversation going at all costs? And, keeping the conversation is better than not. But we want to get to these higher levels of conversation. Remember, we don't want to be boring. So to do this, we have to get that confidence up. And I've got other videos. I'll put a card up. And if confidence isn't the issue, maybe the issue is the questions you're asking. Basically, when you ask questions, when you start asking them, it's good, right? And then as you ask more and more, it kind of becomes an interview. And you can basically increase the amount of questions you can ask before it becomes an interview by using statements that provoke a question from them. So you might say, oh, I'm so tired. Basically be a pick-me girl. The difference between a statement that provokes a question and a normal statement is just like a judgment, like, yeah, that's good or whatever. And a statement that provokes a response is something where you're sharing information. And the more information you share, the more loaded the statement is, the easier it is for them to pick up on stuff. But notice I said the other person does have to pick up on your statement questions and ask questions. So if it's already too far gone and they're not interested, it's not going to work. So you need to use these kind of before they start to lose interest. Once they have lost interest though, once you're in interview mode, you need to stop. You need to just let the conversation end. Do not continue to interview them. People don't like being interviewed. It's stressful. It's not fun. And it kind of just, you just want to be quiet and just like take a breath. And you can't do that if someone's just pestering you, asking questions. So it's all good. It's all happened to everyone. Not everyone's going to be interested in you, but just let it go and go find someone else to talk to. Okay, now for making jokes. I'll make a joke right now. Watch. All right. It's 2:30. My tooth hurty. Oh, guys, I'm sorry. That's cringe, but I actually just came up with that on the spot. Like, I'm actually really happy with that. Anyway, what I did just there was I looked for humor in something that wasn't even funny at the time. And you can do this in any conversation. You just think like, what about what they just said can I make a joke about? And it doesn't always have to be like something smart, like what I just said. I know it wasn't smart, but it's that type of joke. It can just be like playing pretend, playing dumb, exaggerating. There's so many different things you can do. And you might find it hard at first if you're not used to this, but it just putting effort into trying to be funny will go a long way. And over time, you'll get better at it. You'll get faster. You'll be able to just think of it on the spot. And then you'll become that person who just everyone loves talking to because you can just joke around. People can actually have fun talking to you as well as, getting to know you and all that other stuff that was more the level 1 level of conversation. You know what else is linked to being able to make more jokes? Laughing more. As I said earlier, the people I've known who are the funniest also laughed at my jokes the most. And obviously, a little bit of that is we obviously have similar humor. But on top of that, I personally think that the funniest people are just like, they just think everything is funny, including their own jokes. They're just looking for humor, basically. So what I'm getting at is when you're trying to become funnier, you can't just think of jokes on your own. You also have to laugh at other people, see the humor in what they've said. And this isn't laughing at them. This is laughing with them. Even if they said something that's like barely a joke, laugh. And don't force it, obviously, but actually appreciate the humor. And you'll find that this, I think, helps. And it helps the mood of the conversation just go to a more fun, jokey place as well. So they might start making more jokes now because they're comfortable. And that's good. And remember, you don't have to be funny in every conversation. Not every conversation is going to go well. And that doesn't mean you're boring. But the more you practice, the higher percentage of people will actually like you and the higher percentage of jokes will go well, all that stuff. You'll get a lot better.